Cassie's schooling. It's just me.
Cassie's got a lot to be grateful for. She's got family.
Hey, you're getting grease all on your face.
So what's it to you?
Friends.
The next thing to do is to concentrate on some sort of interesting hobby. For instance, I make those big decorative pillows.
Work.
A reputation like that ingrate's got in this town, she's lucky to have any job at all.
No wonder she feels the way she does.
Let me see. Death by drowning. Possible if large body of water could be found.
She's made some bad choices.
I just don't feel ready to cash in my chips.
Your chips?
And some big mistakes. Riley Hood just might be next.
You know, when I was 3 years old, I strangled a white kitten to death with my bare hands. At 19, I was a certifiable dope dealer and my best customer. Whoa!
But when an irresistible force...
What I'm trying to say here is... You want to go out with me?
...meets an immovable object.
I'm through with all involvements. I have a blemished past. People say my personality's strange.
Something's gotta give.
Stop looking at me with those eyes.
Rosanna Arquette, Eric Roberts.
This is the best day of my whole life. I wish it would never stop.
Maybe it won't.
Think?
Maybe.
Nobody's fool.
What's going on, everybody? I am back again with another film review, and I apologize for not getting this review out any sooner. Just certain other priorities took hold in my life, and it is what it is, but you know, when stuff like that happens, you gotta focus on that. But back on the subject, I'm going to be discussing the 1986 underrated romantic comedy drama film, Nobody's Fool. And this here is the MGM DVD, came out in early 2005. It's in widescreen, the picture quality was decent. There are no features, however. And unfortunately, this has yet to even get a Blu-ray release. And it's too bad, because I think it's a solid flick for sure. And to be honest, romantic comedy films are definitely not my cup of tea. They might be for you, they might be for everyone else, but I never cared for them. But there's some I don't mind, and some I have a soft spot for, which is luckily this movie here. And it's mainly because of our two leads here. Rosanna Arquette and Eric Roberts. They make the chemistry work, even though their characters are a little quirky and weird. That's what I like about this. It's a bit different. It's a change of pace from the typical romantic comedy genre, you know, especially today and even back in the mid 90s and early 2000s. This one did it a little differently, and that's what I like about this. I think the chemistry between Rosanna Arquette and Eric Roberts is what made this unique and different in comparison, because of their kind of quirky nature and how they interact. But you know, there is definitely a unique romance that blossoms between them, and that's what I like about this. And it's also very good direction by Evelyn Purcell, who's the director, and I'll start off with her with my typical crew and cast. The film's director, of course, is Evelyn Purcell. Before this, she did some kind of film. I don't know if it ever came out. It was made in 1980. It only had like one actor, from what I've looked her up on. And then the stuff that she did afterwards, she did a couple of other TV films, and that's pretty much it. And then the film's writer is Beth Henley. And from what I've read, she was a playwright who specialized in writing romance and love stories, but she did it a little different. Before this, she did a couple other films. One had, believe it or not, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. And then she did another one that actually had John Goodman in it. And then she, of course, did this film. And then after this, she did a couple other films that came out in '89 and 2004. And that was pretty much it as far as her filmography. probably because the film itself, this film, did not do very well at the box office. And for the rest of the crew, we have the producers. We have John S. Denny, James C. Katz, Carrie Brokaw as the producers. But another great aspect I liked about this film was, of course, the composer, James Newton Howard. He did the music for this film, and I think it definitely worked. It fit the film like a glove. You can definitely see there was some talent there. And he would go on to score so many films after this. He would go on to have a very great career after this. You know, did films like the first two Batman films in the Nolan trilogy, Falling Down, another film I plan on doing, but I don't want to reveal the name of it, so it's going to be a surprise, and just so many other films. It's no wonder how he became very successful. And in fact, he actually was married to Rosanna Arquette. You know, just some trivia information. But from what I read, the marriage only lasted for a year, so it is what it is. I think the cinematography was also decent. It was done by a guy named Mikhail Suslov, if I'm pronouncing his name. He was able to capture the town shots very well. It was actually, from what I've read, it was shot in Arizona, and I think they did a good job of capturing, you know, the town aspect and even certain parts of the geography landscape as well. So yeah. And for our cast, we have, of course, our lead, Rosanna Arquette, who stars as Cassie. Eric Roberts as Riley. Mare Winningham, she is Cassie's, I guess you can say, best friend, Pat. We have Jim Yuns as Billy, who is actually Cassie's ex in this movie. Then we have the Academy Award-winning actress Louise Fletcher as Pearl, who is Cassie's mother. Gwen Wills as Shirley, as one of the actors who... I'll get into the plot. We also have Stephen Tobolewsky as Kirk, who is actually the manager of this traveling Shakespearean troupe that, you know, that they travel and do some plays here and there. You also have an actor by the name of Charlie Barnett as Nick. I think he's one of the other actors in that traveling group as well. And then you have J.J. Hardy, who is Ralphie, who is, in fact, Cassie's brother. And speaking of which, he's actually the same actor that appeared in Indiana Jones. He was the one that said, "Hey, I called the sheriff." And from what I've read, that was actually his last film right there, was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You also have Louis Arquette as Mr. Fry, who is Cassie's boss, and that's pretty much the notable cast members that you see there. And I'll get into the plot summary. This basically revolves around Cassie, portrayed by Rosanna Arquette, who is basically trying to seek some love and escape from this kind of mundane, ordinary town that she's in. But it's not without a price, because apparently, as we see in flashbacks, she's made some mistakes. One is including an attempt at stabbing her ex, who is played by Jim Yuns as Billy. She's largely seen as a kook and is pretty much, you know, alienated from pretty much a good majority of the people. She's actually bartending with her best friend, played by Mare Winningham. She is able to give her some advice, and eventually she comes to encounter this traveling Shakespearean troupe, which is managed by Stephen Tobolewsky. Encounters Riley, played by Eric Roberts, who is basically kind of a stagehand, roadie. You know, he does the majority of the lighting and stuff like that. And basically they start to, you know, have very small, brief encounters, like she's looking for a thermos. He's able to point it out to her, and they have a couple more encounters, like he even tries to invite her for some key lime pie. She can't because she's going to a get-together, and she basically hangs around her cousin Linda. So yeah, and then she also goes to some sort of other event where it's at I believe it's at a church, and she also sees her ex there as well, Billy, and she decides to wander off in the rain. And before then, she's able to kind of find out where Riley lives and actually goes to her apartment. And judging from what you saw in the clip, you see her talking with Riley, and she says, "Stop looking at me with those eyes," because he always tends to stare at her at a particular way, and she always thought it's kind of, you know, not necessarily creepy, but just distracting. And of course, she also kind of, while that's happening, the comedy aspect, she decides to reveal a little bit of her past, where, you know, what's happened with her, and because of that, eventually Riley, you know, encounters her again, but this time he decides he wants to really get to know her, and even suggests she should go for a ride with him, pretty much. And then eventually, when in the car, he actually is wearing the glasses because his eyes somehow annoyed her, And he's like, can I take these off? And then he starts telling a story where he was basically saying at 3 years old, he strangled a kid to death in his bare hands. You kind of hear it in the trailer as well. He also said that he cracked open his first girlfriend's skull, and she was like, wow, she was knocked out like a light. And then apparently at 13, he was screwing nurses on linoleum floors. Then he, of course, you heard this part in the trailer, at 19 he was a certified dope dealer, but eventually, somehow, I assume he got arrested, then he was able to change his life and turn it all around, and he doesn't do all those things anymore. And he's like, he asks her out, and she actually ends up agreeing to it, and we see moments where they're actually having a picnic in the graveyard, and having a brief conversation. They're even, at one point, after Cassie is helping Riley with this, with the lighting and everything, they eventually have, they actually go to his place, and know that the clip that you're about to see, it has subtitles in there, and probably the clip itself has some noticeable tracking. It's probably sourced from a VHS. I just wanted to let y'all know before you watch this. Just wanted to give you a heads up, and there you go. Let's roll that footage.
No. Okay. Good.
Chili sure was good.
Good.
You'll have to give me the recipe sometime.
All right.
I better be going. It's getting late. I really enjoyed it.
Want to smoke?
No, I don't smoke. All right, I'll have a smoke. I like this cigarette.
You do, huh?
Yeah, it feels strange in my hand, though.
Why is that?
I don't know. I gotta go.
Don't go. Stay with me. Stay with me tonight.
All right. You remind me of a pair of green mittens I had once.
I do? What happened to them? To the mittens?
I don't know. I don't remember.
there you go. Really great chemistry between our two leads. And yes, the light is on, mainly because I felt like the quality of the camera seemed like it was going to get blurry, and I didn't want that to happen. And as far as any other clips, that's really going to be the only one I can include, because I can't find anything else on YouTube, nor or any other site, which I don't know if there's any, because, like I said, this film didn't do very well, and it's not a popular film. So there you go. But back on the subject of the plot, I liked how we also got to see some flashbacks of, you know, of Cassie's of what her life was like before. Like, there is a reason why she's hesitant to go into this restaurant. It's because she stabbed her boyfriend in the side of the neck with a fork, and it was because of the fact that whenever she told her boyfriend Billy, played by Jim Yuns, that she was pregnant, he basically rejected her and saying he wasn't ready to cash in his chips yet. Basically, he didn't want to have anything to do with her or really be associated with, you know, having a father-child, pretty much. So he's basically deadbeat, pretty much. And then she reacts hysterically. She basically said, "Well, it's too late. Your chips are cashed." And so she throws her fried eggs at him, stabs him with a fork, and of course the people see that, and she's eventually thrown out the restaurant. She's even feeling more sad and depressed, and she tries to choke herself with him, but she can't do that. So that's probably one of the funnier aspects about it. And then apparently she tries to go into an alley that she has a stairway. So after she does that, jumps off the thing, it snaps and she ends up laying inside of a dumpster. So she's unsuccessful at that. And then apparently when she's at this hospital institution, and her belly has grown since then, she actually makes a checklist of her wanting to, you know, kill herself. She either lists it by shooting herself in the head, stabbing herself with a knife. She scratches that off mainly because too messy. And there's a couple other things, like she comes up with death by drowning or poison, and she tries to go with the poison, and what she finds is the poison, it turns out it's filled with nothing but candy. Then she at last tries to find, you know, dig through the trash and use some fish bones to eat, but apparently she's caught, and more than likely she eventually gave the baby out for adoption, as you would later find out. And she also tries to move on from her relationship with Billy, like he interacts with him after at his place, and he's cooking steaks, and he apologizes for the way things were between them and wishes she could stay, but she tells him she already had a feast. And eventually things start looking up for Cassie. She eventually, by joining this traveling Shakespearean troupe, she actually wins the part of Juliet in the Romeo and Juliet production. She's very excited. Her and Riley go and celebrate. She actually has a great moment where she's feeling alive, and it's the best day of her life and everything, like you saw in that one clip. And eventually she actually starts to help Riley start to pack, because eventually whenever they're done with this production, they're going to eventually go somewhere else, or he really technically is going to be going back to California, and he actually wants to take her with him. But apparently Cassie's having some thoughts about that, and some of those old feelings of being rejected or being taken advantage of, or in her thoughts again. And he even asks her, "Why do you always look on the bleak side of life?" And he really is pushing her to go with him. And then when she continues to pack, there's this one funny scene where he's like, he actually takes his own tape player and just tosses it over himself, and he's like, "The tape player's not the issue," and he just realizes, "Oh shit, I just threw my own tape player off the side of my..." And I thought that was a very well acted scene, and it really shows how good, you know, Eric Roberts is doing, you know, comedy like that, because he was known for some pretty serious and dark roles, and I think Eric Roberts really acted very well in that scene. And of course they do the play. Apparently the people are impressed by her, so she actually starts to get, you know, get warmly received by the people. Maybe this is her chance to really start to, you know, make amends for what's happened, because apparently the town thought of her as a kook and basically, you know, alienated her. In a way, she was trying to seek some redemption, and this looks like that might be the case. That's why she's also hesitant to go with Riley. In fact, there's actually this one other scene where apparently Riley actually encounters Billy, and he doesn't even shake his hand, because he knows something's definitely up with Billy. like he's full of it. He actually is, you know, he's actually trying to, Billy's trying to talk to Cassie, maybe sort of reconnect, you know, maybe as friends, but possibly something more. Because I guess things are not working out between him and his new lady, and Riley's just pretty much seeing through the bullshit. In fact, he was actually holding Cassie's stuff, and he's like, I'm not holding her stuff no more. And then he really tries to push Cassie into really going with him to California, and they have that little argument like you saw where, you know, she jumps on top of him after Riley starts throwing a bunch of shit. Yeah, it's a very well acted scene. And then apparently Riley decides to, you know, write his number down on his jacket, you know, in case if she, you know, changes her mind to go with him. And in the end, she realizes, you know, she doesn't want to be stuck or serving drinks to Billy and, you know, and his friends and all that. She realizes she doesn't want to be stuck. So she actually just says fuck it, just throws the drinks that she was going to serve Billy earlier over the top of her head too. And then whenever, like I said, Louise Arquette, her boss, is like, "What do you think you're doing?" He's like, "I'm leaving." She's like, "Hey, you can't leave. Hey, if you don't work, you get no paycheck." And she's like, "Okay, fine. Keep it up your butt, Mr. Wiley." And he's like, "Huh? You can't talk to me like that." Saying goodbye to her family, and she's able to catch Riley at the last minute, and they end up going off together. So I'll say this: what I don't like about this film, looking back, I felt like they could have established more of a backstory of if Cassie, you know, I assume they graduated high school or something like that, but they never did. And I felt like some of the supporting characters really didn't do a whole lot. Like as much as I like Louise Fletcher, she really does not do a whole lot in this film. She's in the film for a bit here and there. She's in the beginning. She's worried about her warts, and then apparently she's in the flashback where she tells Cassie, "Hey, you like these lemon cookies? They were your favorite." And she's there when, you know, going into the get together, going to this event, and then you see her at the very tail end where she, you know, reminds Cassie to not forget some things, and that's pretty much it. So I felt like the family aspect, I felt like she didn't really have a whole much of a connection with Cassie. Even her brother, I kind of felt like that. Even by the end, her brother actually does something for her. Even though he was shown to be a little bit annoying, he actually gives her his life savings, and she's very thankful, and he wishes her the best. And I felt like there was also some dark moments, like whenever, you know, she's thinking of killing herself, but I guess that's kind of like the other aspect where it's trying to be funny, where she's trying to, you know, she's really depressed and she's trying to find an escape, pretty much. So yeah. But I think but I'll get to the good things. I really like the chemistry between her and Eric Roberts. They really work off of each other, where you know, he's really trying his hardest to, you know, be smooth but also be honest. And I like how, like I said before, I like the way he acted in this one scene where he just realized he just threw his own fucking tape player, and something was crawling on there. I don't know what that was. Anywho, and I like how they have their pleasant moments when they're having a picnic in the graveyard and they're having some nice little discussion. I also like how he has Cassie help him out on the lighting aspect of the play. And I also like how yeah, basically Eric Roberts showing off his kind of goofy personality. I like how how it comes across on screen. I like how Cassie, in a way, despite what she's going through, she's learning to. I like how she's trying to move on with her life. She's trying to establish kind of like a new beginning for her, whether it's going to be in this town or whether it's going to be somewhere else. I like how it's all about moving forward, and I like how that film really kind of touches on that aspect. And I also thought that while Stephen Tobolowsky wasn't in the film for a whole lot, I like how he tried to really, you know, kind of rationalize with Cassie and try to, you know, whenever she's portraying Juliet, how she finds the internal struggle, how she, I like how he's kind of teaching that aspect to her. And I also like how there's this funny moment where he has kind of like this horse-looking, I wouldn't say it's a mask, it's some kind of little thing, well, it's kind of like a mask, but he's having a hard time getting that thing off, and apparently he's like, maybe we need a chainsaw, and then actually someone starts to ignite a chainsaw, and he's like, holy shit. But for the amount of time that Stephen Tobolowsky is in, he actually makes the best of it. And I also like some of the how the cinematographer managed to capture some of the shots of the town. I think he did a great job on that aspect. You know, especially in the graveyard scene, and there's a part where they're at the lake where Cassie's saying, you know, it's, you know, this is the best day of her life. Hope it never ends. So yeah. And of course the score by James Newton Howard, he actually really manages to capture the, you know, kind of really brings it to life in certain aspects of it. You know, it really has that good kind of 80s synthesizer kind of score, which, especially in the very end, where I might try to see if I can put, you know, a little bit of that music in there. Kind of, it just leaves you with a feeling of warmth and comfort, and I think it does a great job of doing that. So anywho, I never really talked much about romantic comedy films, but I really happen to like this, mainly because I like like I said before, it's well acted. Rosanna Arquette and Eric Roberts are really the highlight of the film. They're the heart of the film. I like how they do end up together, you know, despite some differences, like whenever she tries to capture him at the last moment, she actually has to throw her suitcase on his car to get his attention, and apparently she has to go back and pick up some clothes, and he's like, hey, what about this slip, and what about that sweater? Nice slip. Yeah. And well, yeah, maybe he might get a little heated, but it shows that he has some warmth and charm to him. That's what I like about his character, and it's portrayed very well by Eric Roberts. I know I've said this before, but like I said, I'll say it again, they're the heart of this film, and they do a great job of playing off each other. And a couple of the supporting characters I don't mind. I just wish Louise Fletcher could have been better connected with Cassie, because like I said before, I just didn't really feel it as much. And I know she's a very good actress. She would go on to play I think the film she did after this, the Flowers in the Attic film, she did a great job in that. And her acting's not bad, but just she doesn't exactly connect well with the family. It just seems like she's kind of aloof. So yeah. But anywho, I think that's really going to do it for me. I don't know what other kind of review I'm going to be doing, but hopefully you'll like it. And hopefully you like this review. Just feel free to share, comment, like, and you know the deal. So anywho, I guess I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.